Hey guys, it is Cartographer time. I am Doa. Welcome to IPL in the afternoon. I've got a feeling I'm probably very loud. I sound very loud in my own ears, but we'll have to see if maybe the sound tech guy, the wonderful Josh Shaw, runs into the room soon and changes the volume to see if I really am or not. But if not, oh, yep, there he is, coming in just like I predicted to turn me down. There we go. He really is a lifesaver. I don't know what we would do without Mr. Josh Shaw here at IPL. And yeah, it sounds much better. Hopefully it does to the people on the stream as well. Hi, again, I am Doa. This is Cartographer, the show where we take a look at a newer map that's coming out in competitive play and kind of analyze it. Usually we have got Infinity 7's Axlav and it's Gosu's Poke Bunny on the show, but not this week. They couldn't make it, so it is just me. So instead, we have got two players from the community stepping up as well to help save the show and give us some games to watch and analyze. So let's take a look at the map that we're going to take a look at today. There it is, Crux GSL Whirlwind. It is a 4-player map, and on the right side of the screen there you see our two players from today. We've got Ender, who actually plays for MIT's CSL team. And yeah, so it's quite good. Masters League Protoss player. And his opponent will be Snake Hips, a Masters League Zerg player, willing to kind of show what he's got on this new map. And definitely kind of give a round of applause to these guys right away, too. I mean, it takes some guts to come on a show right in front of, well, a couple hundred people for this show. And, you know, kind of show you can do. So props to them for playing on this new map that they obviously don't have a lot of experience on. But let's take a look at this new map to begin with here. We've got 4 spawning locations. We have got a 160 by 160 tile set, 16 bases. All the bases are, as far as I know, 8 mineral, 2 gas, so pretty normal bases there with that. And yeah, so just kind of take a look at it. Here are the bases, 1, 2, 3, and 4. I've got my handy little overlay thing here too. And so obviously your natural expansion, if we take a look at this space, main is here, natural is here. Here's the big question on this map. Do you take your third base at this one? Is this going to be your third base, or is this going to be your third base? That is the question, and I'm even going to draw a big question mark with that. Look at that. That was not a bad question mark, actually, for a mouse drawing. I'm happy with that. There's a smiley face for happiness. Doa's happiness, represented in a oddly drawn smiley face. The question mark actually turned out much better than the smiley face, in my opinion. But anyway, that is the question. Do you take your third here or here, right? And it depends a lot on the spawns. I don't think there are 4 spawns on this map at all. I do believe that it is any spawn you can, because it is still a very large map no matter where you end up. But if you spawn here, you know, does that mean you want to take your third base away from your opponent? In certain matchups, do you want to take your third base towards an opponent? Obviously, if it's like TVZ and you're here and here, you know, Terran here, Zerg here. Terran, you know, might want to go ahead and try taking their third right here, right? And then just be able to try to force their way in this way. So that may be things that people are going to kind of consider, basically, when they're going to be playing this map. So it's going to be interesting. I think it's going to be a fun map to take a look at. Obviously, the middle area is fairly wide open. I meant to circle the entire middle area like this, but my mouse, because again, this is not my normal setup, I was like, this is not the middle area. This is the upper left part of the middle area. This is not quite what I had in mind, but this... There we go. Yeah, that's the middle area. It's fairly wide open, right? But you've got kind of this interesting situation where you have a fairly narrow choke area coming in through here, right? But you can also kind of come in from the sides as well. It's a little bit roundabout. You have to come up a ramp to do it. But I think this is going to force a lot of very interesting matches when people are attacking on this map. I think that's when it's going to be lots and lots of fun. I mean, yeah, we're going to have big fights kind of out here in the middle. But when someone is attacking into someone's base, kind of the direction they take and the way that people defend, that's going to be quite interesting because you've got conflict points in, you know, so many different places. And then you've got this little area in the middle as well that kind of breaks up a big army, right? They kind of have to come around through here. So, you know, what map is this going to be really good for? You know, what race is really going to excel? Well, I think a lot of a lot of people I think would say that generally Protoss is excelling on most maps right now, especially since Dual Sight was taken out of the GSL map pool. That was a terrible map for Protoss, but they were all playing greedy anyway, so they deserve to get punished regardless. IMO. But right now, we generally see, you know, Protoss taking fairly easy thirds. But this is going to be cool. There are also destructible rocks here at, I believe, yeah, I think, right at some of these base locations as well. Or is that just my imagination? I'm trying to zoom in. That may just be my imagination, actually. or this may be rocks. We'll see once we get into the game. I looked at this map a little bit before, but I didn't have a whole lot of chance to go through it. It's been pretty crazy around here. So I think we are probably going to get into the game fairly soon here. So let me go ahead and jump over to Battle.net real quick, talk to my buddies Ender and Snakehips. Hey guys, ready? And alright, so I will start the lobby. I'm actually like this bad at typing while talking. I'm not even kidding. I'm actually this bad when I'm like, I will make the lobby. Hello, how are you doing? That's actually because I can't talk and type at the same time. A skill that I definitely do not have. So I'm going to start that game. And then we are going to get into it with our 2 players. Both of these guys are Master League, so they are quite good. They've gotten all the way up to Masters. Make myself a referee here. And then we will go ahead and add both of these guys in. So, invite to game, invite to game. There we are. Okay. And, oops, I just left the chat. Let's not do that. Alright. There we go. Okay, so they are both in the lobby. I'm going to say, ready, guys. And once they are ready, we are actually going to get into the game. And I promise I will switch the screen over to the game. Don't worry. I will this time. I really, really will. I promise. And of course, stick around after this as well, because we've got Team Arena Challenge coming up. It's going to be a pretty awesome match. I believe we have Infinity 7 versus ATN type / real. And let's do that. The countdown screen has begun, as you could probably hear on the stream. And once it finishes, once we go to loading screen, we are going to move right into the game. It's going to be Snakehips versus Ender. There we go. On GSL Whirlwind. There it is. And if you search on NA for Whirlwind right now, or just GSL maps, you can definitely find it. It is a cool map. I have actually not had a chance to play on it yet myself. They just announced it last week. There have been a couple games on this map in the GSL. I believe, I want to say Jinro played one yesterday. I haven't watched all the games from last night's Team Liquid versus, what would they play? Zenex? Yeah, they played Zenex last night. I haven't been able to watch that match yet, but I heard Jinro played a game on it, so I'll be eager to go and see that. And yeah, as you can see, we have a Zerg versus Protoss here, which is cool because we've had only Terran versus Protoss lately on Cartographer, because we've got Poke Bunny and Axlav. Ideally, I'm going to add a Zerg onto that regularly, and then we'll be able to have the Zerg input as well. But for now, I try to bring that. But honestly, I just love Stim too much. I can never like really be, a pure, Zerg supporter really. I don't know. I just enjoy Marines. So even though I play Zerg, still miss some Marines a little bit. But looks like we have top versus top. We've got our Zerg player Snakehips on the upper right part of the map. He's about to try to slither his way to victory against his opponent. In the upper left, it's going to be in the red, MIT's Ender. That's right, he plays for the MIT Collegiate StarCraft League team. Whereas Snakehips just plays on the ladder. He's just one of us, trying to grind his way up to fame and fortune. And he's made it all the way to the tip-top, well, almost tip-top league. Close enough, anyway. So as you can see, it's a very large map. Looks like it's going to be a gateway expand from Ender. Interesting place for that pylon. I think he should be able to put everything in here just fine, especially if he walls here and just puts a zealot right there. It should be pretty good. Fairly large main, too, especially a ton of space behind the main. Look at that. So much space for dropping, potential for hiding things if you want to cheese, things like that. So this should be an interesting map in terms of games that we're going to see from the GSL and stuff like that. There's also plenty of space on the other side as well, although a lot of this is going to be covered by wall-in type of things. So pretty normal gateway expand so far from Ender, which is a bit abnormal these days because we are seeing so much Nexus firsting, so much Forge expanding, but I've got a feeling Ender is just kind of playing it safe because he's not quite used to the map, so we'll have to see what he has in mind. Snakehips getting his pool before gas, not surprising at all. And this is actually going to be really interesting now that I think about it, because let's ask ourselves here, what have Zerg players really been enjoying doing in ZVP lately? And the answer, of course, is they've been liking to go for those 3 hatcheries before gas, right? So again, that brings us to this question, where is the third for Snakehips going to be? He's sending out a probe right now, or a drone rather. Looks like, yeah, he's actually just going to take a third right away. Interesting move. This is actually going to be a little bit closer to his opponent, but maybe in a place that Ender is not expecting here. In fact, I don't think he saw that drone come out. In fact, the drone, actually the way it's lined up, can sneak through here, so that's kind of cool. The other alternative for third base, of course, would be here, which feels like it's a little bit farther away. Honestly, it feels a little bit farther, but I still think it would be okay. And yeah, we've got sort of a little wall up here with the supply depot, but I think that would be okay. And yeah, right away, Ender's going to scout this. He will find the spawning pool. Okay, or not the spawning pool, the hatchery. And he's going to go for 2 gas relatively quickly. So I've got a feeling we're going to see probably a 3-gate expand out of him, 3-gate sentry expand. Maybe 1 gate if he's feeling a bit saucy. In fact, I believe he could probably get away with it if Snakehips is indeed going to go for 3H, but he's not. He's actually put down a gas. So we are going to see a little bit different openings. That's interesting. I feel like Snakehips is kind of trying to fake out his opponent a little bit. And on a map like this, where you can kind of sneak a drone past, ooh, this actually is really interesting. Cool. So you've got the Protoss player generally blocking, right? And he's transferring a lot of drones over here too. Cool. Okay, so yeah, so if you've got your probe as a Protoss player kind of blocking things like normal, right? Then you have an ability as a Zerg player to sneak a drone past here. Maybe go ahead and go for this kind of hidden expansion to a certain extent. That might be something that we see people kind of explore a little bit. It's cool. Looks like it's going to be another gateway and a Stargate coming out from Ender. So he's going to use the fact that this is kind of a large map to get across there with air units, be able to walk a little bit more unopposed. And on a big map like this, you know that Zergs are going to have a lot of Overlords kind of flying around here as well. So he's going to be able to use his Void Ray to really kind of reduce the amount of map control and vision that Snakehips has. So that's kind of a nice, I think, response to this map by Ender right now, going for that Void Ray opening right away. But just to kind of look at some other things around the map. Again, we've got this wide open area, only one Xel'Naga tower in the middle of the map. There it is. It's hiding behind the bushes, but we know it's there. And it's got a little flag above it, too. Huh. Alright, whatever. Capture the flag maybe in a different map type. We'll go in there and take that. And again, in these areas, we've got just kind of these little blocking things. Kind of little pits that cause the army to have to spread out, so you can't move up here with just like a huge, Marine Marauder force or something like that. Most maps have things like this in them right now. And yeah, it looks like it is going to be a certain type of expand. It's going to be a Stargate expand, so just 2 gateways, just enough to get some sentries and some zealots out, making his second Void Ray already, and that thing is actually going to go right for the third. But as we can see, Snakehips is ready. He's just going to have to move those spine crawlers away a little bit, and he's going to be able to probably force this Void Ray away once the second queen gets there. It looks like he may lose his first one, though. Remember, 1 queen does not beat 1 Void Ray, and Snakehips is going to prove it for us, unfortunately. Yep, there it is. Fortunately, the queen goes down, second one popping out, and that will be enough probably to force the Void Ray away, maybe. Yeah, especially if Ender's not paying attention here. Oop, he might lose the Void Ray. And again, this type of thing, I think actually might be a little bit more interesting, having community members play and maybe have pros kind of talk about the game while the community is doing their thing. So if you think that might be something that you want to see, oh, this army might get trapped here. If that's something you might want to see, definitely tweet at me, at GhostlyDuo, let me know. Decent force fields from Ender, trapping a lot of those Zerglings against the Zelds, and he does have the Void Rays to help clean up as well. So it looks like he's going to be okay. Yeah, oh! Actually, he's able to sneak past that Zealot. Interestingly enough, gets into the main, may get a couple drone kills, but I think overall Ender's going to be just fine. And in the meantime, we do have Snakehips going for his third, going for the Evo Chamber, double Evo Chamber, and a Roach Warren as well. Starting to build up a decent amount of gas, so he's going to be probably going for double upgrades for his Roaches. It's a possibility. The secondary wall going down there for Ender, it looks like. And, alright. So again, this particular game, we're not going to just straight up cast it. I'm not going to really be analyzing too hard what the players are doing or anything like that. We're just kind of looking at how the players are going to use the maps. And with these guys, we're going to probably play a couple games. It's not just going to be one game like we usually do with Axlive and Poke Bunny, just because there's going to be a little bit less analysis for this type of thing. We want to see the map in action, right? A little bit more interesting to do that. This is, of course, the +0 Zealot, Void Ray, Sentry with extra Zealots attack. There's a +1 started right now for Ender. He may have neglected to get that a little bit. Looks like the space is going to be in trouble. Probably going to be going down. The drones are going to make a run for it as well. I've got a feeling Ender, being on the CSL team, being a little bit more maybe active in the competitive scene is maybe skill-wise a little bit better, but I'm not, gonna really say that too much. But I know these two were talking in the lobby before that, and Snakehips seemed a little bit nervous, but he is also a Masters player, so for the purposes of what we're doing today, this is gonna work absolutely perfectly. Indeed. So, base goes down fairly easily. Zergling's not really gonna do a whole lot. Yeah, he's gonna need to pull back there. Definitely do that. So, this is kind of interesting. Alright, so we've got basically a Protoss player that went for that Stargate opening. Pulling back now, he knows he's done plenty of damage. He knows that this base is fairly late here, right? So he's going to be just fine. And also going to sneak another pylon in here as well, watching for more bases potentially. Now, if you're a Zerg player and you do take these 3 bases, and you do hold them, keep in mind that there are 2 ramps going to this, one from kind of the middle area, one from the side. But if you do hold these 3 bases, then this base, which Snakehips is actually taking right now, should be fairly safe. And yeah, it's a little bit farther away, but I kind of feel like this may be a base that we're going to see Zerg start to take as their 3rd on this map, as we see this kind of progress in the GSL. Let's see, so how many creep tumors would it really take to get there, right? We've got maybe 1, 2, so probably about 5 or so, maybe 5 creep tumors to 6 to get here as well. No air defense, so this one's going to need to get canceled. The Queens I don't think are going to be able to make enough of a difference, especially with 2 Phoenixes there, 3 Phoenixes there. So the Queen should be just fine. And just for this very reason, right? I mean, we saw Snakehips try to take perhaps more of a natural 3rd here, and Ender was able to deny it fairly easily. And I don't think that's because there's any sort of skill disparity or anything like that. I'm thinking it's just going to be a difficult base for Zerg players to hold in general. I mean, it's got a big ramp coming in here. It's got a great place to warp units into the high ground. That's going to be something we're really going to want to consider, right, in Protoss versus Zerg. Imagine a pylon right here, a little zealot push with Void Rays, warping it on this high ground. That would be something that'd be very difficult for Zergs to deal with. So even though this is a little bit farther away, I think we're probably going to see Zergs start to take this as their 3rd a little bit more commonly. We'll have to see. I mean, because yeah, you can defend against some of these earlier pushes, but it would be easier if you could do it this way. The Protoss would have to go all the way through here, go through these kind of narrow chokes, or else have to go through the middle and come all the way around the outside, right? So this seems like, to me, in some situations, maybe a better 3rd base for Zerg. Now, obviously, if it was cross positions, if it was this base versus this base here, then I think this 3rd would be just fine. But in top versus top, like what we're seeing here, supply count's fairly even right now. In top versus top, I think this base would probably be a little bit safer, but I would not be surprised at all if we still see Zergs take this as their 3rd. A lot of Zergs will take this and then just be confident that they can hold it off. Fact is, if you lose your 3rd base in ZVP and they have their 3rd base up and running, you're in serious trouble anyway, so kind of a do or die situation when it comes to the 3rd base from our Zerg players in most professional leagues right now. So something to kind of keep in mind. And a little bit of everything for Ender here. We've got the Robo, we've got the Dark Shrine actually on the way. There it is. And as you can see, he's left this one Overlord here, not intentionally. But let's see, has he really been able to make use of it? Not quite yet. Oh man, I don't know why I'm yawning. I actually got plenty of sleep last night. I think it's just been kind of a crazy weekend. Hopefully you guys had a good weekend. I know in America it was a holiday weekend, Memorial Day weekend, so a lot of people got off work. So if you are in America, hopefully you got some time to relax. And if you're not in America, hopefully your weekend was fine as well. You can have a good weekend wherever on this planet you are. Nice force field for Ender. Ooh, but he does have Roach Burrow, so they're not going to be quite as useful here. And I don't think there's an observer there as well. Wow, Snakehips really, really doing a good job on this army. Taking this out, no problem. And while he's doing this, also taking this hidden 3rd down there. So maybe a little bit of a comeback for a Zerg player. Now the big thing now for Snakehips is he can't over-pursue. He has to kind of pull back. Yeah, I know there's a Void Ray killing some of his roaches, but he's got Queens to handle that. We'll see. He may just smell blood. He may just be going for the kill here. If he can deny this 3rd, that'll be quite good. Only 1 Immortal out right now for Ender, so this could be pretty good for Snakehips. And Snakehips, they are wiggly. Ah, the DTs, though. Yep, saving Ender, causing Snakehips to have to pull back. No problem. Going to see some Overseers morphed in here. I've got a feeling very soon. Where are the Overlords? Oh, they've all been moved off to the side because of the air units. Interesting. And so if you're just joining us, this is a show called Cartographer. This is the 3rd week we've done it. Usually we've got Infinity 7's Axe Lab and Gosu Poke Bunny on the show as some pros to kind of offer some pro analysis with this as well. This time they couldn't make it, unfortunately, so we are going to actually take a look at some players from the community. So we've got MIT Ender from MIT's Collegiate StarCraft League team, and we've also got Snake Hips, a North American Masters League player, putting it all on the line. Looks like the hidden base was found. There are DTs coming down, but is there an Overseer? That's kind of the big question. There is, but he's slow. He needs to make it there. And will he be able to get there before the base goes down? This is actually going to be very... Oh, the Overseer stopped. Oh, Snake Hips, why are you sacrificing your base? No. Snake Hips, no. There goes a hatchery. He might have been able to save it, but it would have been very, very difficult. Yeah, he's going to need to rebuild it. Still has not rebuilt his third base. He's got plenty of money to do so, but has not done it yet. I thought I put myself on busy. I guess I did not. There we go. Now I am on busy. All right. So, again, just kind of looking at this map. Now, this base did take a little bit of time for Ender to find, right? Despite the fact that he had air units out, right? It still took him a little while. This map is very, very large. This map, I would say, is probably about Taldrum Ultra size. Admittedly, I don't quite know the pixel size, the hex size for Taldrum Ultra off the top of my head. But just in looking at the mini-map and kind of looking at this map, it feels about the same. So I'm going to go ahead and say this is about the same size as Taldrum Ultra. And I'm sure someone out there right now is, no, Doe, you're completely wrong. It's not at all. And if that's the case, feel free to tweet at me at Go and let me know. And will he get a fungal on these units? That would help those infested Terrans out quite a bit. But wow, look at them rip through those Void Rays. That is fast. Oh, he decided to move them. I think he might have right-clicked instead of attacked. Whoops, a little bit of a mistake there, but that's okay. Fourth base going down for Ender right now. And he's going to want to expand towards his opponent, right? Because the safer that this area is, that means the safer his third base is here as well. So that's going to be the prerogative of the Protoss player. But I think overall we're going to see a lot of really good macro games on this map, right? It's going to be pretty cool. It's going to be large, some very long distance mining going on here. Probably the longest distance mining I've ever seen. These drones have a long way to go before they get back to the base. Looks like it's going to be an attack here from Snake Hips, and is Ender prepared? Ooh, force fielding some of his own units off of there. Snake Hips needs to be careful here. Those Stalkers do have Blink, and he does need to control these Roaches to focus down what he wants to focus down. That's kind of the thing. These Roaches are 2-2 right now. The Stalkers for Ender are 3-1 plus 3 attack, 1 armor, and they are just absolutely tearing through these Roaches. Yeah, Snake Hips not living too long, getting a little bit down in supply here, and by a little bit I mean quite a bit now. That forward pylon still has not been discovered, and the army is taken out. Queen coming along for moral support, but it's just not enough. Queen's moral support just not enough to save him that game. And yeah, this is pretty well defended by Ender, and he's also going for that mothership as well. Where is it, though? Ooh, I don't know. Maybe down here? Nope. Oh, there it is. Yeah, it did finish. Okay, I was looking for something building. Yeah, and we've just got more drones here transferring over to this base. You know, the thing is Snake Hips could have maybe done a little bit better if he would have just tried to take his normal third again. I mean, trying to hide all these bases, yeah, it's cute, and I mean, if it works out, that's great, but I think in this situation, Ender was playing passive enough that he probably could have gotten away with that. But, c'est la vie. That is just how it goes sometimes for Zerg players. And it looks like Ender should take this game. And so we are going to do a little bit of post-game analysis and then probably move on to a second game. And let me look at what I'm at for time. All right, we're at about 3:25 p.m. Pacific time, and we can go up to about 3:50 here with this map. So looks like we're going to see a bit of a cleanup. Oh, infested Terrans doing some damage at this base as well. How many workers were killed? Ooh, actually 27 workers killed. GG, there it is. And that is about it for game number 1. And so we'll see if these guys are able to play game number 2. Ideally, they will. And we will find out. Let's see. Let's see. All right. So basically, let's kind of talk about what we saw on that map. Let's go over to the whiteboard and let's check it out. So we saw the 2 spawns here, right? And I just need to get back here for a second. Let's see. Okay, so let's see. So there and there, right? Now, what we saw our Zerg player Snakehips do is that he took this for his second, and then he took this for his third. Now, there is that ramp right here, and that's not a very long distance at all from the Protoss base. In fact, you can just go here as well. So any way you slice it, it's pretty close for Protoss to get there from here to here. So that means that this may actually be a little bit safer of a base for Zergs to take. You kind of force Protoss to come down through here, or, you know, maybe through here as well. But coming up through this area makes you a little bit vulnerable to units right here and things like that. So we'll see. I mean, we'll kind of see where things progress. I mean, obviously, this is a very new map. We've got a lot of games yet to be played on it. It's for those of you who don't know, this is one of the new GSL Team League maps, a new 4-player map that they just added for this season. I think it's had 2 games played on it so far. And we've seen longer macro games. Obviously, it's a larger map. It's 160 by 160. So it's going to be a little bit easier to get away with some of those longer games, some of those macro strategies. But overall, I'm really kind of wondering about ZVP in this particular matchup. That's kind of what we're focusing on today, because our 2 community members that are playing for us are a Zerg and a Protoss. We've got MIT Ender. His Twitch TV is MIT Celestis, it looks like. And we've got Snakehips, who is just Snakehips. That's just what he is. And let's see. So I will go ahead and get another game started here. And then we'll get our players in the game and we'll start game 2. So that'll be just a second here. And again, thanks for joining us, guys. This is Cartographer. This is a game where, or not a game, this is a show where let's see, Ender, are you still online? There we go. Where is Snakehips? Snakehips, where are you? This is a show where basically we take a look at a new competitive map. Usually we have some pros on, but they couldn't make it today. So we've got some community members stepping in to help us out awesomely. And let's see. Invite to game. There we go. All right. And we'll see if these guys are ready, and then we'll move into game number 2. We'll just go ahead and maybe, I don't want to say make it a best of 3, because if this is a little bit longer of a game, then we might have a little bit of time, because we do have a bit of a time crunch here. And, yeah. Alright, so we'll see if these guys are ready. This keyboard, every time I go to type a question mark, I type like the 2 like angles like that, because that's where those keys are on this keyboard. And so I type a lot of strangely ending sentences sometimes. So again, before we go into the game, this is the map we're looking at. Whirlwind, 4-player map. So we'll see this time. We'll see if our Zerg player Snakehips is going to take a third in a different place, or if he's going to go for the same thing. He did go for gas a little bit earlier last time, instead of going for that fast 3 base with no gas. So things were a little bit different than the standard we see these days. So we'll see if he decides to kind of switch things up. I don't know if he necessarily needs to. I feel like this map you may need to play a little bit more defensively on, just because it's going to be so easy for Protoss to get there quickly. So, all right, ready to go. And here we go, game number 2 on the map, Whirlwind. There it is with our 2 players from the community, MIT Ender and Snakehips. We are about to move into the game. There we go. And so there's our loading screen. I don't know. Loading screens, I think they're cool. It's like a big tapestry that you can put a beautiful picture behind, or nothing, depending on your priority, but I prefer it to be kind of cool. So here we go, and similar spawn positions this time, only we're on the bottom instead of the top. We've got Snakehips, our pink Zerg player from the North American Masters League ladder. Good luck, have fun, babe. From Snakehips, and on the left side of the map in the red from the team MIT. That's right, from the Collegiate Star League team, MIT. It is Ender, apparently an MIT student, and a Masters League Protoss player. And it looks like we're going to have a fairly early scout from Ender. Yeah, scouting on that pylon. It is a big map, so you do want to get out there early to kind of see what things are going on. I kind of feel like this map is going to be meant to be sort of a replacement for Teldra and Malter. Oh, look at that. There's like torches on here. Interesting. Kind of looks like the totems from World of Warcraft or something like that. Although, maybe the Tauren totems, right? The cow guys. Totems for other races, of course, are quite different in that game. But, what was I going to say? Man, I am easily distracted, aren't I? You're really kind of getting a glimpse into the mind of Doa here, the easily distracted caster. Just kind of how it goes. But it is a large map, and I do wonder if they are kind of planning on replacing Teldrim Altar. Because although Teldrim Altar is a good map, it's a fun map, I think it is sort of nearing the end of its tournament life to a certain extent. It's been around for a very long time, and the metagame, I feel like, has kind of evolved past it to a certain extent. It's so figured out that the games we see on it really aren't all that fantastic anymore, and that is a good catalyst for map change as well. Look at this hatch first from Snake Hips. I think that's a good decision. I think that's always a bit of a risk, right? But I think in this particular case it could work okay. If his opponent had scouted him first, on a pylon scout, if he had gone just from here over to here, if you look at my mouse cursor, then he would have seen that first. He would have been able to make the choice to get the pool first instead. So since his opponent didn't show up, he can go ahead and go for that hatchery before Ender can really deal with that very effectively. So I think that's a good plan from Snake Hips, and maybe we will see a few more Zergs going for a hatchery first in this matchup. It is also another gateway expand from Ender, deciding not to go for the Forge expand. It's always a little bit different or difficult to Forge expand on new maps because you don't really know, how to wall off. This is a very large map, which makes it difficult to Forge expand on to begin with. Maybe on this map we would see something more similar to, well, the supply depot's on the side, so it'd be tough to do that kind of wall here too, between the Nexus, if you go Nexus first, and the Forge and the cannon or whatever like that. So you'd have to kind of wall off here. But you'd probably want to put your pylon here and get all that done there. But the other thing, too, is that this could be Baneling busted, too, right? So I don't know. This is actually... Ooh. Now I'm going to be thinking about this. The implications of possibly Baneling busting a Protoss in ZVP on this map. Because this, if you're going to Forge Expand, is probably going to be part of your wall, right? And this only has, the regular supply depot hit points. So potentially something that's Baneling busted makes you have a sentry here to get a force field just in case, but that's going to be a whole new set of things for Protoss players to worry about. So that right there, this larger ramp with the supply depot feature, is actually a very cool, little interesting thing about this map. I like that. I wonder if we're going to see that come into play in some of our future games in the GSL Team League. And it looks like we do have the 3 hatch, a little bit different than normal. It's hatch first into 3 hatch, no gas for Snake Hips. And he did decide to take his third in the same location. That's actually okay this time. It's a little bit better this time, in fact, because now this base is the one that's closer to your opponent. So a lot of times I think Zergs will want to just expand away from their opponent. Obviously, that's kind of what Zergs want to do all the time. But, in this map especially, just from the spawning positions, you'll want to do something like that. And same opening again from Ender. Going for that 2-gate Stargate expand. Going to be able to put a little bit of pressure on his opponent. Since there's no Forge, we're not going to see any really fast +1 or anything like that, so that does make Zerglings a little bit more effective in holding off the Zealot part of it. Wow, very defensive from Snake Hips, too. I can't blame him. I mean, when you see your Protoss opponent going for a gateway expand, or some kind of gateway play, anything involving gateways these days usually means there's going to be a pretty quick attack coming, although it looks like he hasn't seen this yet. He actually hasn't scouted. He's just playing blind, it looks like, just kind of putting up some blind spines. Wow, 5 spines. All right, and let's go ahead and put this up just so people can see the supply a little bit easier. Scouting probe, or scouting void ray. Doing some scouting things. He's going to go for the 3rd base here. And yeah, nothing really defending that. The first queen is not even out this time, unfortunately. So Snake Hips is going to have a hard time holding on to this one, I would say. Yeah, creep not anywhere near spread, unfortunately, for him just yet. And this is going to be one of those things that Zergs are going to need to worry about a little bit. This is the quote-unquote closer of the 2 bases, right? For Zerg to take as their 3rd, there's this one and there's this one. This one, you just kind of have to go around the corner like this, right? It's going to sacrifice a queen so that the other 2 can get there and finish off the Void Ray, which should work. But it's going to take, let's see, 1, maybe like... Ooh, I don't even know if he can reach the low ground. Maybe like 1, 2... like 3, 4, yeah, probably like 4 or 5 creep tumors again to get here, whereas with this one you've got just using this creep tumor as a base example, you've got maybe you can fit this in. So 1, then probably 2, 3, 4. So it's going to be about the same either way, actually. Yeah. So in terms of creep tumors, I think it should be about the same for Zerg. That Void Ray taking a lot of damage. Oh no, another Queen goes down. That hurts a little bit. But the Void Rays does get taken out as well. Here's the difficult thing, though, is that no matter where you take a third, you've always got 2 ramps. Either this one and this one. What? They're just sharing a moment here, I guess. And then at this base, you've got this one and this one. And there are destructible rocks on these larger ramps, too. Let's see. Ooh, I like this. A Spire on the way for our Zerg player, for Snakehips. So the question is, does Ender see this coming? I don't know if he did. Let's see. Nope, he doesn't know. So this could be a little bit dangerous. That's a pretty decent army coming across the map for him. It's definitely going to be something that Snakehips is going to need to worry about. The other factor here as well is that because he's saving up so much, he's actually... Wow, big cancel on the Spine Crawlers there. Because he's saving up so much for those Mutalisks, he's going to be a little bit short on units to begin with as well. So he's going to have to kind of respond very quickly to this. He's going to need to make kind of a snap decision. But he should have enough for maybe about 8 to 10 mutas when the Spire finishes. Yeah, about 7 mutas it looks like. Will he make them right away, though? I think he might have to give up this third base first before anything. Yep, 8 mutas on the way. And all in all, a difficult situation for our Zerg player again to be in. When I saw this map initially, this is kind of what I was worried about. Now, I think there may be a little bit of a skill disparity between these two players. I'm not going to comment on that a whole lot, but that may be a factor in it. There's also the fact that it's tougher to play on a map that you haven't really played much on before. But this is something that I'm genuinely concerned about for Zerg players with their third bases. It really seems like these are easy to kind of access for Protoss players, for Terran players as well. Now, I think a lot of people would come back and say, well, Doa, look at Cloud Kingdom, right? The third is even more exposed on this map, and it's a 2-player map, so it's not like you can really get away with anything on it. So how can you say, that map is okay and this map isn't? Well, the fact is that it is tough for Zergs to keep their third base on Cloud Kingdom. So I think at this point, that's just kind of something that map makers have kind of accepted about the current metagame, saying that Zerg players are just going to have a tough time keeping their thirds on most maps. It's kind of hard not to have that situation have just the way that the metagame is kind of going right now in PvZ. I mean, the third base is where it all kind of revolves around. This Queen is about to be tickled to death by these sentries. It's going to be off. Oh, no. See, her toupee popped off. Check it out. I keep talking about that, but look at that. Totally a toupee. It's not even her head. It's just like the top of her head. And here comes Ender again. There are 4 spines there, and not a lot aside from sentries. Yeah, he's actually going to lose all the Zelt's force fields. I don't know. Just for fun. Why not? And how's the Muta Harass been doing? Let's see. Let's take a look at the workers killed. He's killed 6 workers, so he's done a little bit of harass, but not a whole lot. Yeah, it's that big third base. So the other thing too. Let's go ahead and do this. If you're a Zerg player out there, tweet at me, tweet at GoSudoa, and let me know, how would you handle this map? Like, what would be your preparation? Be it, scouting, build order, what would you do on GSL Whirlwind to make sure that your third base was safe? What would your plan be? And we'll see if we get any responses, and I'll read those on the air then in a little bit. I can't see chat right now, just with the setup that I have today, but I can access Twitter through my phone as well, so there's that, right? Muta's coming in for a little bit of harass here. And overall, they should be able to do a little bit. No cannons or anything. Snakehips does have Blink up for his Stalkers, so he should be able to force those back fairly easily. If the Mutalisk count gets too high, and it is at 17, that could become a bit of a concern. But behind all this, behind this Mutalisk Karask, we should see Snakehips going for more bases. We should see him try to take advantage of this to take maybe a third or a fourth really quickly. Yeah, his money's low. Yeah, it'd be a bit of a risk. But in this situation, I think it's kind of nice to do that. It's kind of good to take that risk, because the alternative is to just not have a lot of bases, right? All right, let me see here. Oh, okay, this is perfect. Borsty on Twitter, _Borsty, says Whirlwind has a size of 160 by 160, which is what we saw already. Teldrim Altar, in the meantime, has a size of 176 by 176, whereas Cloud Kingdom has 126 by 132. So Teldrim Altar is actually a little bit bigger, but not that much bigger. This still strikes me in terms of practical distances as about the same. It's going to be very similar in terms of army movements and things like this. Ooh, I do like this. I don't think 4 cannons are going to be enough to stop that. Yeah, they are going down very quickly, and the Mutalisks do have +1. Stalker's warping in, but that's just not going to be enough initially, and it looks like Snakehips will get a few more kills, so that'll be pretty cool. Decent for him. He has about 30 supply ahead right now, and so you can definitely see, I mean, both of these guys have a pretty good grasp on the mechanics of StarCraft 2. So for our purposes, for the map, you know, looking at a map, I think we've got 2 great players for this, and I can't thank them enough for stepping in and helping us out today here. Pretty awesome stuff. Alright, so let's look at some of the other factors here. You've got these kind of narrow running lanes, right? You've got this area where you come up here, and you've got also some line of sight blockers too. I would love to see a Protoss like try to hide some pylons in this area, right? Because you have to kind of come all the way up and go around. You can't just like, you know, go up and see everything right away. These might actually come in a bit handy for players wanting to hide units. Should be pretty cool, in my opinion here. Here's another thing to consider as well. And this almost reminds me of maps, again, actually like Teldrim Ultras. We see a little bit more Mutalisk harass from our Zerg player, where you have the situation where you can roll up and siege up a base fairly easily. Yeah, this is the third, it's not the natural, but the ability still kind of remains for you to be able to do that. And let's kind of take a look at that natural. Yeah. Ooh, actually, I wonder if a siege tank sat right here, if it could maybe hit some of this. I think it'd be really close. Maybe you could. Not really very practically usable, but if I was a Terran player and I was doing sort of that 10-11 minute push against Zerg and I was here, Terran is here, and the Zerg is here, practically speaking, you could probably wedge some siege tanks in here. And let's just take a look at the damage that's being done. Ooh, nice Ling run by here. Doesn't look like it's really going to do a whole lot while the Mutalisk attack. A little bit of damage being done, but let's kind of take a look at this here. Okay, so we've got this area that, yeah, you could probably fit a tank or 2 in here. Good defensive location to siege up this mineral line, siege up this general staging area for Zerg. So that could end up being pretty good, something Terrans may want to look at. And I think you've got even better opportunities at this third base as well. So in TVZ, Terrans are going to be able to kind of make use of some of those more old-school tank marine pushes, possibly. Now let's take let's kind of think about some of the other matches here. So ZVZ, well, that's just crazy in anything. So forget ZVZ. Let's go into PvP. Well, that's kind of crazy in anything. So let's move on to TVT. TVT is kind of crazy in pretty much everything. So let's move on to TVP. Alright, TVP. We've got a map that I think we're going to see a lot of typical TVPs on. You know, it's going to go late game. We're going to see a lot of that late game Terran trying to take on that late game Protoss death ball, which has been so controversial lately in the game of StarCraft 2. But I feel like Terrans are just on the cusp of understanding. And I have a feeling that just like tons and tons of ghosts are the answer. I'm talking like 20 plus ghosts. It's my crazy philosophy, my crazy theory, but I think it's a possibility. But I was just kidding about the mirror matchups. Let's go back and talk about them. ZVZ, alright. ZVZ, we could certainly see a lot of Zerg players hatch firsting on this map. It's going to be very, very difficult to do damage to your opponents with those very early pools. Again, I'm going to use Teldrim Altar as another example as we see this army come out to go after Snakehips here. Teldrim Altar is another map where a lot of Zergs will choose to hatch first just because you can't get a lot done with something else. PvP, it's going to be very different from Teldrim Altar, obviously, because there's actually going to be ramps between the main and the natural, so there's not going to be any sort of tendency to do sort of crazy 4 gates. Snakehips causing a cancel on that 4th base here, and he's got a 4th base himself, so this may actually go a little bit longer here. I think our Zerg player is actually in not that bad of a spot. He's got 2-1. Wow, +2 carrot base. Interesting idea for Snakehips. And Zerglings and Banelings, are they going to be able to do any damage? Oh, Storm's coming in, hitting a lot of the Banelings. Oh, the sentries get left behind. Oh, no, those poor sentries. They didn't do anything other than not have Blink. Why did they deserve that? Oh, the sentries die, and you could see a lot of Zerglings coming out right now for Snakehips. That'd be a good response to that. Knowing that he's killed a lot of the logistical sort of advantages that Protoss has right now. It's kind of funny. It'd be cool if that flag, you know what I'd love to see? If this flag changed to a different, you know, Zerg, Terran, or Protoss logo, depending on who had the most supply at the moment. That would be fantastic. I wonder if you can do that. Probably can. Map Maker's pretty crazy. Pretty crazy good. And this is not enough Zerglings. Maybe enough mutas, actually. It's a 2-2, actually. 2-2 to 2-2. That may have been enough mutas to take on these Stalkers. Would have been close. Look at this. 3-3 on the way. Huge Mutalisk style from Snakehips. Very cool, actually. And he could maybe catch some reinforcements, but it looks like he will lose his 4th base. I don't know if there's really a whole lot that he can do about this. TVT on this map as well, I think, is going to not be too much different than what we see. We're going to see a lot of varied openings. We're going to see a lot of Marine Tank, just like we've been seeing lately. I think Bio could work quite well on this map because of the amount of space, the ability to drop, the ability to outmaneuver your opponent. You know, in this large middle area, these are not going to make that big of a difference for a Bio army. So I think Bio versus Mech could actually do okay, just kind of like it does on Tal'Darim Altar. And of course, Mech is awesome, so if anyone wants to play Mech on this map, I will not complain one bit. Yeah, let's see. So it looks like Ender, again, doing a lot of damage. He does have the supply lead. But will it be... Oh, yeah, probably will be enough. Here comes the attack. Where are the Zerglings? He needs some other units besides just the mutas. Yeah, it's not going to be quite enough. Here come the Banelings. Oh, great. Solid connection with those Banelings. Wow, that's what happens when you leave your sentries out to dry here. You're going to get hit with Banelings. That is quite cool. And now the mutas have these Stalkers on the run. Looks like Ender, although he was able to kill a base, is going to need to pull back and play a little bit more defensive here. He will have some more Warpins if he's careful, though. Although, he's losing a lot of army, but look at that. Their Templar with Storm. Oh man, these Mutalisks should take a lot of damage. These Templar both have enough energy for Storm. Oh wow. One Templar getting a little bit singed by Zergling Claws, but that's okay. Wait a minute, they don't singe people at all, do they? Man, I'm just not paying attention, am I? So, yeah, that's kind of the implications with the map, basically. And I'm trying to talk about this map, but I'm just entranced by this game right now. I'm sorry, I might just like actually have to cast this. The idea was to kind of look at this map and kind of talk about the map while the game was going and not really cast the game that much, but this has suddenly gotten very interesting to me. Look at this, it's going to be 3-3 Mutalisks against what will be 3-2 Stalkers. And 3-3 Mutalisks kill things so amazingly quickly. That's going to be craziness. Wow, he could actually just go up and kill these Stalkers right now, no problem. The problem is that he lost a couple bases, so his economy is pretty much done right now. 4 mutas on the way. Oh man, Snakehips, you could kill those Stalkers. Watch out for the cannons, man. But you can kill those Stalkers as long as you're careful about the Templar. In fact, that's what he's doing. And look at this, using Templar to make more Archons. I don't know about that. I think in this case, Templar may be a little bit more useful. You know, no sense turning them into Archons before they use their energy. Nice storms on those mutas there. That'll do some damage. Ooh, man. A lot of damage to those Mutalisks from the storms, but that's okay. Still got him away. I don't think he lost any. So that'll be fine. Yeah, I really feel... Where was I as far as the map goes? I think I was talking about TVT. Yeah, I feel like Bio TVT is actually going to be really good. You've got so much space to drop everywhere. I mean, look at this. You can drop here. On this map, you can drop... Well, that's kind of this big area. You're going to see a lot of people build into it, but anyone who doesn't build a supply depot or something here to kind of stay safe is going to get dropped pretty badly. These 3-3 Mutalisks are going to try to do a little bit of damage. Not a whole lot, it looks like. That's a lot of Archons. I mean, Archon, Stalker, High Templar with Storm. That's going to be very, very difficult for a Zerg player to handle. If we look at the unit counting station, he's got just 24 mutas for his attacking force. So unfortunately, I don't think this is going to work. And we might see Ender take another game here, but Snakehips definitely being competitive. Oh, no! Oh, man, that was brutal. Every single drone getting taken down there. That was rough. And here come the mutas. Oh, Storm plus Archons equals a bad day for Mutalisks. Oh, man. Oh, that may possibly be the end of the game. Yeah, GG. No kidding, man. And that is going to be about it. We are going to quit. And I see we are actually out of time anyway. So I'm going to say to those guys, as I switch back to the webcam, thanks for playing in all caps, because I care just that much. Oh, the webcam didn't happen. There we go. All right, well, you got to see me type in caps, so wasn't that wonderful? So, yeah, in just 9 minutes, actually. Now, I think we're going to run the countdown timer, but then we're going to be right back, so don't go anywhere. It's going to be Team Arena Challenge number 3. It's going to be great. Kevin Naki and I are going to be casting that for you, so don't go anywhere. It's going to be, I believe, Infinity 7 versus ATN Type. I'm 99.9% sure that's what it's going to be. I should know this a little bit better, but like I said, it's been crazy around here with all the shows, so I've not had time to research the matches as quite as well as I would have liked to beforehand. I'll make sure to change that. There's no excuses. So that's that. But I need to end the show, or people are actually going to start yelling at me here in just a second. So I'm going to end the show. We're going to go to the countdown timer in just a minute, folks, and then we are going to be back. Don't go anywhere. It's going to be Team Arena Challenge. Thanks for watching again. This was Cartographer, and have a great rest of the day, guys.